So I'm sure you guys heard my mom talk today about two inmates that were beat up yesterday. One in cell number 10 and the other one in cell 35 in D-Pod. So we got information that Eric Lindsay was taking this young man, this Hispanic male that doesn't speak any English. There's a language barrier, and Officer Eric Lindsay was taking him back to his cell. Now, Eric Lindsay is the same officer that was involved in Juan Campos, the murder of Juan Campos. The same officer was taking this man, this young man, to cell number 10, and somehow there's a language barrier. Okay, this guy's in handcuffs, and Eric Lindsay all of a sudden just attacks this man. He attacks this inmate while he's in handcuffs. He slams him to the ground, he beats him up, and then other officers arrive to that cell and they tell Eric Lindsay, like, hey, what the F are you doing? They're telling that to the officer. I mean, just picture that. Other officers are telling Eric Lindsay, what the F are you doing? Okay, now this person has been deprived food for the past couple days, and officers are laughing at him, not eating. We're told this guy is really skinny, he's malnutrition, he has some kind of mental health. He doesn't know how to use the phone. And what do? They beat him up because this person is helpless. He has nobody to call, no family to check up on him. So what do they resort to? They resort to beating him up. They beat him up and they deprive him medical. Okay? Now we're told that there's a lot of blood that's lost from this young man. And then at the same time, another inmate is beaten up in cell number 35. I know who's in cell 35. When we were here protesting a few weeks ago, there was a person sitting outside of a 7-Eleven, and I offered him food. He was just sitting there, and I said, "Are you hungry?" He said yes. I gave him a meal, something to eat. Okay, and I got a phone call from him a few weeks ago telling me that he was arrested. So now today he says they beat me up inside this jail. They beat him up yesterday, and they turned off the phone in D-Pods on the upper level all day yesterday to prevent people from talking about it, to prevent this information from going out. Okay, now this is how people are losing their lives. You've got officers that go into people's cells, they beat them up for no reason at all. I mean, the man in cell 10 yesterday was already in handcuffs. He wasn't talking back because he doesn't talk much. He wasn't resisting, he wasn't a threat. But Officer Eric Lindsay somehow felt offended by this person looking at him. Okay, and he decided to commit an act of violence against this person that's already in handcuffs. And rather than other officers report Eric Lindsay, who's a liability to this jail, okay, who's involved in other inmates that have lost their lives, rather than address the issue, they write up this person in cell 10. They give him a write-up for failure to obey an order. And I think the reason why they do the write-ups is to cover their asses. So just in case, for whatever reason, this guy in cell 10 goes before a judge and they see his swollen face, and the judge's gonna say, why does this person look like that? And that, that's if the judge says, if the judge really cares. We're talking about the attorneys here. The attorney is gonna say, why does my client look like that? And the jail has a story to cover their ass. They're going to say there was an incident yesterday where he failed to obey a direct order, whatever the case may be, but there's a reason. They covered their asses. So now this person is going to get a write-up, and we know how write-ups go. They're always one-sided. They're always one-sided. The person's always guilty, regardless of what other witnesses say, regardless of what the cameras show. The person's always guilty, and they end up taking that person's mattress. They take away that person's clothing. No commissary, no phone calls, no visitations. And you know, and now we know the reason why they write somebody up after a beating. And the reason is to block them from calling their lawyers, to block them from contacting family. And the reason why they stop visits is so that nobody would see them and see the injuries when they come to visit them. Now this person, I don't think he has any family, or I don't think his family knows that he's in here. And you know, the problem here is when you come across information like that, where an inmate was yet once again beaten up, stripped naked, deprived food, where do you go? Where do you go? Because Manassas Police will tell you, not my jurisdiction. When you email the Commonwealth Attorney, you email the sheriff, you email the jail board members, none of them respond. When you go into the jail right behind me and you say, I want to speak to leadership about an inmate that was assaulted, they'll tell you this person is fine. Nothing to see here. Okay? You contact Prince William County Police, they won't go in to do a wellness check. We've seen that before. We have videos of them telling us we're not doing a wellness check. This is a private business, a private jail, and we don't have jurisdiction to go in. That's what they tell us. And that's documented. Okay? Now, if you go to a human rights office, they'll tell you not my jurisdiction, even though the director of human rights, Raul Torres, is a jail board member. He's one of the 11 members that actually have a say at this jail, but he won't address it. If you complain to PREA will take your complaint and disregard it. They'll just close out, say unfounded, no claim to see here. Why is that so? Because the person that makes the decision is also involved in sexual assault, involved in the cover-ups. Okay? Now, I got information regarding my brother's beating on May 24th of last year. They want to tell us that nothing happened. Nothing to see here. May 24th, your brother just slipped on water. Okay? There's video of my brother being carried unconscious from one cell to the next. Unconscious. Beaten up. A pool of his own blood inside of his cell. That's Mustafa's description. Well, what if I tell you the person they put in that cell describes to me that there's a pint of blood. He said a puddle of blood was in that cell when they put me there, before they cleaned it up. They never cleaned that cell. They never cleaned up the blood. He said, I thought it was like a bucket of paint that was spilled in here. And I began spraying it with the cleaner when I realized this was blood. He says, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe so much blood from the same person, from Mustafa. And they want to say nothing to see here. For someone to lose so much blood and not be transported to the hospital, to not be treated by medical, to be stripped naked, to be taken to another cell only to get beaten up again, to get beaten up some more after losing all that fluid from your body. That is attempted murder. That is the definition of attempted murder. What they did to Mustafa on May 24th of last year is attempted murder. Okay? And he's lucky to be alive today to talk about it. And it's still happening today. August 20th, yesterday, 2024, 2 inmates beaten. The same way, beaten. Deprived medical. And they want to say nothing happened here. Now, I'm getting information from different inmates that a Sergeant Galen Coleman is involved in sexual assault against inmates. while they're doing the strip search, this officer will take his flashlight and insert it into the person he's searching, into their private parts. Okay? On another instance, the same officer, Galen Coleman, on a completely different occasion, was touching a male inmate improperly, was touching his private parts. Touching his private parts. This is an inmate complaining. Okay? Where is Jeffrey Kepler on these complaints? Where is Lieutenant Kepler when it comes to these PREA violations? These are federal violations. This is a federal law, PREA. P-R-E-A, PREA. Okay? Jeffrey Kepler says unfounded. But you have an officer, Galen Coleman, who sexually assaults inmates while they're doing a strip search, where he takes his flashlight and inserts it into the person's body. How is that allowed? How can that go on? How can these officers still be working here? How can these officers still have a job, getting paid by tax dollars? There's so many witnesses to what's going on here. These 4 officers were directly involved in Mustafa's sexual assault. Roosevelt Daniels, David Suda, Anthony Tipton, Alex Woliski. And now, Galen Coleman. When Mustafa was not allowed visits, he was not allowed phone calls, this officer sexually assaulted Mustafa. He sexually assaulted another inmate, Carlos. I mean, these are the ones that we know about. These are the inmates that are willing to speak up. They're willing to speak up. So, you know, I ask the community this. Where do you go with this information if not a single agency wants to address it? The FBI will tell you it's not my job. It's not my job to interview witnesses, to look at the facts. This is very disturbing information. Okay, for someone to lose so much blood, and for them to deprive him medical, to throw him in a cell, to write him up and put him on detention, no phone call, no visits, no mattress, after they're injured. Okay? What are these nurses doing behind these closed walls? These are nurses certified by the Department of Health. Nurses neglecting their job, failure to follow their oath, to do no harm. I mean, what the hell is going on here? What's going on in Prince William County? How can the Commonwealth Attorney sit in her office knowing that you have a rapist inside the jail, physically assaulting inmates every time they strip search somebody? They have this sick person, Galen Coleman, a sergeant, sexually assaulting inmates every time he strip search somebody. How can the Commonwealth Attorney sit there and pretend like nothing is happening? 2 people got beat up. All she has to do is walk across the lawn. That's all you have to do. Walk across the lawn and go to cell number 10. Go to cell number 35. You want to record a statement? I have a recorded statement from multiple people as to what happened yesterday. Why is there not a person that says, let me listen to it, let's file a report, let's get these sick people out of here? How can they just sit in their office just watching this unfold? How can the governor not step in? Abigail Spanberger says she wants to be the next governor for Virginia. She's not even in her office. I went to DC 5 times. She's not in her office. Not a single time is she in her office. And they don't respond to emails. They don't respond to phone calls. And you want to be the governor? You want to be the next Virginia governor? And you can't even respond to an email? You can't respond to a complaint of sexual assault? Murder. And she won't respond to the email. What is she waiting for? What is she waiting for? What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for another inmate to say, found unresponsive, no foul play? This is not no foul play. Cell 10, cell 35 were beaten up yesterday by Eric Lindsay. We know Eric Lindsay beat up that young man in cell 10. And people say he looks like he's 60 pounds. Have you seen Eric Lindsay? He looks like the Hulk. And he's beating up on this tiny, skinny Hispanic male that doesn't speak English. How can these people just sit idly by while murder is taking place behind these walls? How? I just want to know. How can they let it go on? Lindsay Coulter won't answer her phone. She's a special agent with the FBI. I mean, this is unbelievable. Where do you go with this information? Where do you go? Like, who do you tell? Who do you go to? The Commonwealth Attorney doesn't want to hear it. The Attorney General doesn't respond. The district attorneys don't respond. They say, not my jurisdiction. Okay? Prince William County, they don't want to do their job. The sheriffs don't want to do their job. Manassas Police, so many agencies, but not a single person to step up. Not a single agency, not a single officer, not a single person with a badge to step up and say, I'm going to file a report, we're going to investigate this. It's just a cover-up within a cover-up within a cover-up. Look at all these police cars. I mean, look at all these cars. Look at that. Government cars. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All unmarked vehicles. What are they doing here? I mean, really, what are they doing here? Like, what's really going on in this county? What's going on here? Is this really like what it came down to? You have sheriffs, officers walking by, doing nothing about this sexual assault that's occurring on a daily basis. You have a sexual person, a sick-minded individual, Galen Coleman, okay, strip searching inmates every single day and violating them every single time. And not a single officer wants to step up. None of these jail officers will step up and say, hey, Coleman, what the hell are you doing? And report him. Nobody will do it. They won't do it. And I guarantee you, every officer here has blackmail on another officer. When they say, hey, Lindsay, what the hell are you doing? Lindsay's gonna think, yeah, remember the other one? You better not say anything. Because you did the other one. And they all cover up for each other. That's how it goes. You know, my brother posted a article on his TikTok about a jail in West Virginia. And those officers pled guilty to their crimes. Where an officer was beating up an inmate. They took him to another cell to beat him. They took him to another room to beat him up. And the other officers were just watching. They were held liable. I'm telling that to these officers. You're gonna be held liable. If you just watch, you're gonna be held liable. It's your job, your duty to act, to report a crime. Okay?
Hey, Hassan, I'm gonna... Here. Hang on.
This is unbelievable.
Hey, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see.
Hey, I'm gonna play an audio from an inmate that called yesterday about something, okay?